All right, everyone, here we are with War 2 versus GT40. I will have Path 1 in Section 1 and Path 7 in Section 2. I have the middle mini-boss on Power Snack and the shared fight in Section 2. I also am on boss duty, along with a mini-boss on Boss Island. So this first fight, just Quake and shaking this Nova. Nothing special here. The early concussion shut down the regen, so there's no worry him going unblockable besides his Nova charges giving him an unblockable buff, so you'll probably see it pop up here and there. But I have a feeling this was the reason I was sent to this path with Quake. I also have Void and Mr. Negative on my team. So pretty straightforward fight. It's more of the next fight that makes my war really interesting and somewhat sad. And I was curious about how it would work out. But you'll see here pretty soon. So this is Masochism with Yellowjacket, and Yellowjacket has a really high physical resistance, which is what Quake deals in damage. So there was a little bit of a worry here as to whether I'd out damage his physical resistance to the healing, and you can tell here in this first minute, and of course it's going to go by really quick, that he was healing back all the damage I was doing because his attack animation was preventing me from having concussion up, and allowing the concussion, the big concussion, to stick. So therefore bypassing Masochism. But it had me really worried. This is where I decided, hey, I'm already here. This is either going to be a 5-minute Quake fight or I'm going to solo it. So saddle up, do what you can. Hope RNG, as far as his aggressiveness, falls in my favor. You'll see that I parry sometimes. It's just to kind of, in the middle of the fight, weigh the benefit of having a long stun timer so that I can build charges instead of him constantly being aggressive. Who knows if I hadn't have done that, or if I had done that, whether it would have been a solo with suicides or not. Hard to say. You're going to see a 5-minute plus Quake and Shake fight with some parry versus this Yellowjacket. And I'm not sure suicides would take, I guess almost a whole 30, I guess it could take a whole 30 seconds on, but still, there are better options than quaking this for 4 minutes with suicides. And the suicides can suck. That poison being there and the despair for that long amount of time and max boosted, or that length of time and max boosted, kind of hurts Quake with the amount of damage she does to herself from the poison. So getting down to the final minute here, kind of stressing. Can't tell if it's 2 steps forward and 1 step back, or if it's 1 step forward and 2 steps back. But at least we're doing damage. He's not at 100%. And you'll see here, I decide that it's not going to make it, so I start dropping heavies, start trying to do everything I can to add on damage, and there's the timeout. So first attack bonus loss for me. And you're going to see here, we're going to go in, he's got 5% health, and now I'm not going to Quake and Bake at all, and he's just not going to go down fast. So that's where I'm not sure if suicides would have made this any shorter. It definitely probably would have been a solo, so I was kicking myself for not putting suicides on, but it would have been a 4-minute plus Quake fight. So moving on to my next fight, where Mr. Negative has been shining the most, and that's ManThing on Power Snack. Usual game plan: build light charges through parry heavy, evade counter to convert them, attack ManThing and convert my fury buffs to light energy, and then convert them to dark energy again. And then repeat that process by baiting his SP1 and building dark energy until we get to SP2. And then dropping that beautiful SP2 with 10 plus dark energy so that we can get the double petrify and so that we can get the 10 plus degen buffs or debuffs and all of that. Throws him down to almost dead, or at least throws him below the 50% mark so that backup recovery goes into reverse. So here we are. We've dropped the SP2, we had 12 dark charges, and there goes the backup recovery, keeping him at 0. So, unlike last war's ManThing fight, I didn't end up against the wall chaining heavies, and then I don't end up eating the flying arm of SP1. So, it was a very clean, very smooth ManThing fight. Was somewhat frustrated after that timeout. Alright, so I have path 7 in section 2, and originally this M.O.D.O.K was assigned with a Quake, my Quake. But we found out last war that the low swing animation bug of M.O.D.O.K whiffs, kind of like Taskmaster does, so there's a spacing issue, but it's not 100% whiff. It doesn't always do it. It comes in and it doesn't come in. So figured since it's a spite node, let's try Mr. Negative here. I'm not going to parry heavy because he has that knockdown where time after being knocked down causes him to gain power when you hit him. And I'm not going to be able to reliably throw SP2 without it getting auto-blocked. So this is going to be a weird fight. There's of course limber on this guy's masteries, so I'm only getting 1 to 2 hits in before getting auto-blocked. So my original game plan was to convert some dark energy, hopefully 8 or 9, build light energy as we're approaching SP3, and then drop the SP3 to do some direct damage from the dark energy. You'll see there I messed up on his SP1, but also heal. And you're gonna see when I do it, what I didn't anticipate was M.O.D.O.K having SP1 right after my SP3 and throwing it immediately, and therefore reversing that healing. So I'm actually quite proud of myself. After getting knocked down, it pushed me over dark energy, so I gotta build that again. I decide, forget that, let's go ahead and throw this SP3 because we've got enough damage on him, and let's just heal up. And as I said earlier, what you're gonna see is him throw SP1 immediately, and it reversed that healing. On top of that, I knocked him down, so all those blocked hits caused the power flood. So now I'm kind of rattled. I'm like, dang it, item use. And in the middle of this fight, I just completely blank on the fact that he's gonna start auto-blocking my combos, and I end up throwing more hits into his auto-block than I would like, allowing him to dex out and retaliate. So I end up losing more health during this fight, and it's quite comical. But all in all, I think it's a pretty safe fight. I probably would make sure I don't have any light energy for the SP3, or that M.O.D.O.K is nowhere near SP1 when I decide to throw it. Whatever, it's better than quaking and missing. So it was a good adjustment for that fight. So the other reason Quake was on this path was for this Punisher 2099, so that we can completely avoid kinetic transference and AoE. And you're gonna see no problems here. Just a Quake and Shake fight. I don't think he throws a heavy ever once. That can be a worry, especially if you don't time the dex and the dodge well, and you end up eating it and getting stunned. But Quake and Shake, nothing to worry about here. No physical resistance. No issues with... I haven't had Quake and Shake or Quake and Bake issues with parry index, which is interesting considering all the other issues, but... And down he goes with that aftershock. Alright, so we got another fight where Mr. Negative shines. That's this Mojo on node 47. We could completely avoid the kinetic transference if we wanted to, but since we'll be dropping SP2 at some point, we're going to reverse that power gain. But also, if Mojo happens to have unfazed, we're going to have to avoid the evade counter to building dark energy. It just means that we dex a lot to build light instead of parry. So you're gonna see me parry here a lot without throwing the heavy. I don't want to put myself in a position where his anti-life is up and I've got a fury buff and the duration just dies before I can convert it, which has happened before. So I just parry during this fight to create openings, and I don't do the heavy for the fury buff. So here we are, 11 dark energy, perfect, indestructible, not a big deal. The damage over time is where we're gonna get a lot of the damage from his health. And he's got the 2 petrifies up now. So the block, it's negative 160% power gain. So he's done. Very straightforward fight. All right, so mini boss node here. Vigorous Assault with Safeguard now. We have a Guillotine 2099, and I'm going to be taking this with Void since I'm on boss duty, which is a Doom with Void. Game plan here, parry heavy to knock her down. When her cloak is on cooldown so that she won't go invisible, we're just going to be parrying and punching her in the face. We do not have to worry about the Vigorous Assault until the very near end of this fight, where she'll gain a regen buff, and it's the only time she gains one. So this is just a managing G99 fight instead of anything special with Vigorous Assault. I believe I tried to re-parry there. No, I tried to dex out and throw SP1. I probably didn't even try to dex. I think I just tried to smash the special button, and it took my block off instead of throwing it. But yeah, doing this nicely. I decided to just stick with SP1 throws because my Void is 120 sig. So getting Fear the Void up after already having it up takes a bit more time. It doesn't really give me much of a window to throw multiple SB2s, so I didn't think it was worth it. I'd rather make sure that I have Petrifies up and ready to go for when that regen buff shows up so that she doesn't gain any health. And I have to go through all that again. But you can see here, Void's a good option. Taking most of my damage from the heal reversal since I have willpower on. And since I try to push her to SB2 a lot, so. Trying to bait out this SB2. Hoping that that dot damage doesn't cause the regen buff. While I try and reset this cloak timer. And I decided to use the special to get it started. And there's the regen buff, so we're not going to block anything. We're going to have to dodge this. And down she's going to go. So, straightforward fight. Alright, so last is this Doom boss. Actually, when I had a rank 3 Void on my team, Stubborn was kind of on its way out, and Doom wasn't really the boss at that point. So I never faced a Doom boss with a rank 3 Void. I did face a rank 3 Doom boss with a rank 5 back with Savage Squad. And I ended up dying from block damage with 5% left on Doom. Might have been like 18 actually % left on Doom. So I haven't had a Doom boss solo. So I was supposed to have Mr. Fantastic pre-fights for this. Didn't have them because they got used elsewhere. So I kind of am dancing or hitting into block to wait for a Petrify. And this first SP1 isn't going to have a Petrify up. So it's going to be unblockable, and I was kind of trying to dex there and mess the timing up. It's whatever. I had an indestructible boost, invulnerability boost on. So, but it's all gone now. So no mistakes. And I decide to try and intercept there, and the AI was just being weird about the unstoppable and not really moving from that, so I took that damage. And now he got to the SB2 and I decided to block all of it. So now I'm a little worried. I'm like, oh shit. So we gotta fight this Doom from where he's at, which is about 80%, with almost 26% health. Great. What you're gonna notice is that Fear the Void isn't, a second Fear the Void isn't popping up by the time the first one's out. So, and that has to do with the sig ability of my Void. And because of that, you see that I'm just throwing SP1s. It's so that I can maintain Fear the Void and petrifies to avoid any Mystic Dispersion power gain. So I'm hitting in block a lot just so that the damage over time takes away a lot of his health. Also doesn't give him any power. Throwing SP1 when I got it, when the opening's there, baiting his SP1 when he gets it, and dexing the whole thing even if it isn't unblockable, so that I don't lose any more health for this fight. Luckily, we've whittled him down to about 50% now, so I'm feeling a little bit better, but we still gotta focus. Last thing I kind of want is to accidentally get in the assassin range, but luckily I'm not relying on parry for a stun, so less chance that assassin's gonna catch me off guard when it comes to creating openings and dealing damage to this Doom. So it's getting close to 25%, so I'm feeling a little bit more confident about soloing this fight. Dodging these SP1s is going really well. I do have Resonate on for some added damage. And here we go. We are now below our percent here. I believe there's one more SP1, yep, that I eat. I was trying to dex, and I was a little late. So now we're kind of neck and neck, trying to find openings to hit into his block just to waste time and to deal dot damage. Getting there. And here I'm pretty confident that we're gonna solo. So just focusing, throwing this SP1, and down he goes. So got the solo. Timeout's my only death. Really sad, but overall pretty decent war. BG1 ended up dying twice to their 0, and we actually ended up losing this war. They only died 2 times to our 5. So we are not where we want to be. However, that was a pretty tough matchup for where we want to be. I don't know. It's going to be a really interesting season. We went from an alliance that died 19 times to an alliance that only died 2. And GT40 is really good, but they're not usually a 2-death alliance. So interesting to see. But that was War 2. Thanks for checking in. Keep your eyes out for the next one.